The man kept checking the clock above gate 47. Not because he was late, but because he was terrified of being early. His hands shook as he gripped the handle of his small carry-on bag. Cheap fabric, scuffed corners, the zipper slightly broken. Inside that bag was the reason his heart was racing. The reason his palms were sweating. The reason he hadn't slept in 2 nights. Christmas Eve. The airport was glowing with soft lights, artificial snowflakes hanging from the ceiling, carols playing faintly through tinny speakers. Families laughed. Children dragged stuffed animals across the polished floor. Couples hugged goodbye under mistletoe taped to columns. And in the middle of all that warmth, he stood alone. His name was Daniel Mercer, 42 years old, clean-shaven, neatly dressed, but in clothes that had been worn too many times to look new. He wasn't poor, but he wasn't comfortable either. Every dollar he had left was already spoken for. Daniel shifted his weight, eyes darting toward the security checkpoint. Just get through, he told himself. Just get through and everything changes. That's when the alarm sounded. Not loud, just a sharp, unmistakable beep. Daniel froze. A uniformed TSA officer looked up from the scanner. Then another. Sir, a voice called out. Step aside, please. The warmth of Christmas vanished instantly. Daniel swallowed. He stepped forward, heart pounding so hard he was sure someone could hear it. The officer, a tall woman with calm eyes and a perfectly pressed navy blue uniform, pointed to the inspection table. What's in the bag? She asked. Daniel hesitated. Just a gift, he said. The words sounded weak, almost suspicious. The officer raised an eyebrow. Please place it on the table. Daniel obeyed. As the bag landed, the zipper caught and partially opened. Something inside shifted. Metal clinked softly against glass. The officer's expression changed. Sir, she said, more firmly now. What exactly are you carrying? Daniel's throat tightened. People nearby began to stare. A child stopped walking. A man lowered his phone. A woman pulled her coat closer. Daniel's mind raced backward to 3 months earlier, to a hospital room that smelled like antiseptic and fear, to his younger sister, Emily, lying pale against white sheets, trying to smile through pain that was eating her alive. Danny, she'd whispered, squeezing his hand. If this doesn't work, promise me you'll try. Try what? Everything. The experimental treatment wasn't covered by insurance. Too new, too risky, too expensive. Daniel had sold his car, taken a second job, borrowed what little pride he had left. Still not enough. Until one person stepped forward. A man Daniel had never met. A man whose name was never spoken out loud. A man whose foundation quietly paid hospital bills without cameras or press. A billionaire. Daniel didn't know why the man had chosen Emily's case. Only that one day, the bill vanished. Paid in full. No conditions. No interviews. No photos. Just a signature at the bottom of a form. And a note. Pay it forward when you can. Emily didn't survive long enough to say thank you. She died 4 weeks later. The funeral was small. Quiet. Snow falling just like it was now. Daniel had stood by her grave and felt something settle deep in his chest. Not grief. Purpose. Back at the airport, the officer gestured to another guard. Open the bag, she said. Daniel's hands trembled as he pulled the zipper the rest of the way. Inside was a carefully wrapped box. Simple brown paper. Red string. No name. No card. The officer frowned. Unwrap it. Daniel looked up, eyes pleading. Please. It's fragile. That's not optional, sir. He nodded. Slowly, carefully, he removed the paper. Inside the box sat a small, antique snow globe. Inside the globe was a hospital room. A woman sitting on a bed. A man holding her hand. A Christmas tree glowing in the corner. The officer blinked. What is this? She asked. Daniel exhaled shakily. It's a thank you. The officer didn't move. For who? For the man who saved my sister, Daniel said quietly. The surrounding noise of the airport seemed to fade. She was sick, he continued. Terminal. We couldn't afford treatment. Someone we'd never met paid for it. He swallowed. She still died. But she died knowing someone cared. The officer's face softened, but protocol was protocol. What's it made of? She asked. Glass, Daniel said. And there's something inside the base. Her eyes sharpened again. What kind of something? Daniel closed his eyes. A check. That did it. The officer raised her hand. Supervisor. A man in a dark jacket approached. What's going on? The officer explained quietly. The supervisor looked at Daniel. Sir, step back. Daniel's heart dropped. I'm not trying to smuggle anything, he said quickly. The check is written to him, not from him. The supervisor folded his arms. Written to who? Daniel hesitated, because saying the name felt wrong. It wasn't his story to tell. It's anonymous, Daniel said. The supervisor sighed. Sir, you're carrying glass, metal, and a financial instrument through security on Christmas Eve. We need full transparency. Daniel looked around. At the families. At the decorations. At the exit. He nodded slowly. The man's name, he said, voice barely steady, is Michael Rowan. The supervisor froze. The officer's eyes widened. Someone behind them whispered, Wait, that Michael Rowan. Daniel's stomach sank. He hadn't realized how famous the name was. Michael Rowan wasn't just wealthy. He was one of the most private philanthropists in the country. No interviews, no social media, no public appearances, but everyone knew the stories. Hospitals built overnight. Scholarships that appeared without warning. Lives changed quietly. The supervisor cleared his throat. And you're delivering a gift to him? Yes, Daniel said. He doesn't know I'm coming. The supervisor studied him. Why today? Daniel's voice broke. Because it's Christmas, he said. And because he gave my sister one last Christmas she never would have had. Silence. The supervisor gestured toward the bag. Open the base. Carefully, Daniel unscrewed the bottom of the snow globe. Inside was a folded check. And beneath it, a handwritten note. The supervisor picked it up. Read the first line, then stopped breathing. Because the note didn't say thank you. It said something else entirely. Something no one was expecting. And before anyone could react, the supervisor looked at Daniel and said, Sir, you're not flying today. Daniel's heart stopped. Sir, you're not flying today. The words hit Daniel like a physical blow. The airport noise rushed back all at once. Rolling suitcases, announcements crackling overhead, a child crying somewhere down the terminal. Daniel's chest tightened. His first instinct was panic. Please, he said quickly, hands raised. I didn't do anything wrong. I just need to get to Chicago. Just for one day. The supervisor didn't raise his voice. Didn't reach for cuffs. Instead, he carefully folded the note back into the base of the snow globe. That may be, he said. But this changes things. Daniel's throat went dry. How? The supervisor gestured toward a small glass-walled office just past the checkpoint. Let's talk somewhere quieter. People were openly staring now. A woman mouthed what happened. A man craned his neck for a better look. Phones hovered, half raised. Daniel felt exposed. Judged. Like a criminal who didn't know what crime he'd committed. He followed anyway. Inside the office, the door closed with a soft click. The Christmas music became a distant murmur. The supervisor placed the snow globe gently on the table, as if it were something alive. You said this gift is for Michael Rowan, he began. Yes, Daniel replied. I was told he'd be at a private terminal tonight. I got an address. The supervisor studied him closely. And you decided to bring it through standard security? Daniel gave a humorless laugh. I don't belong in private terminals. The supervisor nodded slowly. Fair enough. He picked up the handwritten note again. Can you tell me why you wrote this? He asked. Daniel swallowed. I didn't. That made the supervisor pause. It's my sister's handwriting, Daniel continued. She wrote it 2 days before she died. Asked me to deliver it if I ever could. The supervisor unfolded the paper fully this time. He read it out loud. You gave me time I wasn't supposed to have. Time to say goodbye. Time to forgive. Time to stop being afraid. I don't know who you are, but I hope this reminds you that what you do matters. Please don't ever stop. The room went silent. The TSA officer from earlier stood in the doorway now, arms crossed, eyes shining. Even she hadn't heard the whole thing until now. The supervisor cleared his throat. Sir, do you know who Michael Rowan is to this airport? Daniel shook his head. No, I just know what he did. The supervisor exhaled slowly. He owns it. Daniel blinked. I'm sorry, what? Not directly, the supervisor clarified. But the parent investment group. Quietly. Same way he does everything else. Daniel sank into the chair. The supervisor continued. This airport hosts a private Christmas charity event every year. Rowan funds it. Pays for flights. Reunites families. Covers medical transports. Daniel's grip tightened on his knees. Then why stop me? Because, the supervisor said gently, Michael Rowan is already here. Daniel's heart lurched. Where? He asked. The supervisor glanced at the door. Watching. The door opened fully, and there he was. Michael Rowan didn't look like a billionaire. No flashy suit. No entourage. He wore a simple charcoal coat, gray scarf, silver hair neatly combed. His face was lined, not with age, but with something heavier. Loss. He stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. Daniel Mercer, he said softly. Daniel stood so fast the chair scraped the floor. Sir, Mr. Rowan, I didn't mean to cause trouble. I can leave. I just wanted. Michael raised a hand. I know why you're here, he said. I've been listening since the snow globe. Daniel's eyes burned. Michael walked to the table and picked up the gift. He turned it slowly in his hands, studying the tiny hospital room inside. That room, he said quietly, looks exactly like the one my wife died in. Daniel's breath caught. I lost her on Christmas Eve, Michael continued. 12 years ago. No one spoke. She was sick a long time, he said. The money couldn't save her, but it could save others. Michael opened the base of the snow globe and removed the note. His hands trembled as he read it again, this time silently. A tear escaped before he could stop it. He didn't wipe it away. Your sister, he said, voice thick, gave me something I didn't know I needed. Daniel shook his head. She would have wanted you to have it. That's all. Michael looked up at him. No, he said. She wanted me to remember. He folded the note carefully and placed it in his coat pocket, over his heart. Then he did something no one expected. He reached into his own pocket and pulled out a folded boarding pass. Come with me, he said. Daniel stared. Where? Chicago, Michael replied. Private flight. Leaving in 15 minutes. Daniel froze. I can't afford. You already paid, Michael said softly. Years ago. You just didn't know it yet. The supervisor smiled faintly. Michael placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. There's one more thing. He gestured toward the snow globe. Your sister didn't just say thank you, he said. She made me a promise. Daniel frowned. A promise. Michael nodded. She wrote that when she was scared, when she didn't know if anyone would remember her. Michael's eyes met Daniel's. I intend to keep that promise. Outside, Christmas bells chimed softly over the intercom. But Daniel still didn't understand. Not yet. Because the promise Michael Rowan was about to fulfill was bigger than either of them imagined. Michael Rowan led Daniel down a quiet corridor few passengers ever saw. No crowds. No announcements. Just soft lighting and polished floors that reflected the glow of Christmas wreaths mounted along the walls. Daniel walked like a man in a dream. A private jet waited at the end of the hall, sleek, understated, powerful in the way only things that didn't need to show off could be. Michael stopped before the stairs. Before we go, he said, there's something you should know. Daniel's chest tightened again. Every big moment tonight had come with another weight attached. I didn't fund your sister's treatment by accident, Michael continued. Daniel looked at him, confused. I read her file personally, Michael said. Not because she was special on paper, but because she wrote a letter. Daniel froze. A letter? Michael nodded. She never knew if I'd read it. She wrote it anyway. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded sheet, worn thin at the creases. I keep it with me, Michael said quietly. Especially on Christmas. Daniel recognized the handwriting instantly. His sister's. Michael read aloud. I know you don't know me, but if you're reading this, it means you care about strangers. That makes you family to me already. If I don't make it, please don't be sad. Just promise me you'll keep doing this for someone else. Daniel's vision blurred. She wasn't asking to be saved, Michael said. She was asking me to keep believing in people. Daniel covered his mouth, overwhelmed. She saved me, Michael continued. After my wife died, I built hospitals, wrote checks, helped thousands. He paused, but I stopped feeling anything. Daniel looked up. Your sister reminded me why I started, Michael said. And your gift tonight brought her back to me. They boarded the jet. Inside, it was warm. Simple. No luxury for show, just comfort, quiet, and tension. The snow globe sat secured on a small table between them. As the plane lifted into the night sky, Daniel finally let himself breathe. They flew in silence for a while. Then Michael spoke again. Daniel, he said, do you know what promise I'm keeping? Daniel shook his head. Michael turned toward him fully. I promised your sister I'd never let kindness in with me. He opened a folder and slid it across the table. Inside were documents, foundations, scholarships, a new initiative. Michael tapped the top page. The Emily Mercer Fund, he said. Daniel's heart stopped. What? It provides experimental treatment funding, Michael said. For families, insurance won't help. Completely anonymous. Daniel stared at the papers. You named it after her? She gave me my heart back, Michael replied. Names matter. Tears streamed freely now. But there's more, Michael added. He slid one final document forward. An employment contract. Daniel frowned. This is a position, Michael said. Overseeing the fund. Making sure stories like your sister's are heard. Daniel shook his head in disbelief. I'm not qualified. Michael smiled gently. You're exactly qualified. You know what it costs to hope. The plane began its descent. Chicago's lights glittered below like a field of stars. When they landed, snow was falling, soft and steady. At a small private terminal, a single Christmas tree stood glowing near the entrance. Michael picked up the snow globe. Would you do me the honor? He asked, handing it to Daniel. Daniel hesitated. Of what? Placing it, Michael said, nodding toward the tree. For her. Daniel knelt. Set the snow globe beneath the tree. For the first time since Emily's funeral, he didn't feel empty. He felt full. Michael placed a hand on his shoulder. Merry Christmas, Daniel, he said. Daniel looked up, tears still shining. Merry Christmas, he replied. That night, far from the crowds and noise, a promise was fulfilled. Not with money, not with power, but with remembrance. And somewhere, quietly, invisibly, a woman who once wrote a letter she thought no one would read was finally answered.